everybody, welcome. We're extremely privileged today to have Sam Guedouard with us. Sam is a highly accomplished and experienced practitioner in international marketing as well as in international business. He has held several senior marketing roles in large multinational corporations such as Michelin, Philips, Palmolive, and many more. Sam has had a huge experience in marketing communication as well. He has held important roles as marketing communications manager, events manager in a number of projects, and also he has worked with a large number of Australian government agencies in Australia. He has an academic side to him as well. He has been teaching at UNSW as well as at ACU, and he has dabbled in marketing communication as well as in international business, international communications, and we hope to pull him into our BUS854 teaching very soon. In the past 8 years, Sam has been doing something very interesting. He's actually been running a radio program. How interesting would that be? And whilst conducting these radio programs, he has interacted with a number of business professionals. So he has a huge experience interacting with them. He's also the co-founder of Sydney Multicultural Festival, and he's also been the director of the first 3 editions of this particular event. Sam has a bachelor's degree, he has 2 master's and postmaster's degree in international business, international relations, as well as international marketing and trade, and you are just the apt person for coming in as a guest lecturer for BUS854, which is basically a unit which teaches about leading and managing in cross-cultural environments. Sam also speaks 9 different languages, and he is currently employed with the Australian government in an international trade and investment role, and he's also pursuing his PhD. I have no doubt that you will get your PhD very soon with this track record, Sam. So welcome, Sam, and so pleased to have you here, and thank you. I know you're a very busy person, and with your portfolio, and when working for the public sector, it can be very busy. So let's just start off by talking about your role. You know, what do you do with the Australian government agency that you work for?
Thank you, Meena, and thank you for inviting me to this session. It was really flattered that I was invited, and I'm happy to share my knowledge, experience, networks with your students. My current role with the Australian Trade Commission is trade advisor, which we are in contact on a daily basis with Australian clients, which practically they're looking to expand their operations overseas through export, through joint ventures, outward investment for some. I'm on a daily basis with in contact with our stakeholders, industry associations. I'm the contact person, for example, with MLA, Meat and Livestock Australia. In contact with Chamber of Commerce, number of Chamber of Commerce and business councils, with other government agencies, federal or New South Wales or local, or obviously from other states and territories. And in addition to, I would say, daily contact with our network of offices overseas. We are present in 55 countries. In some countries we have more than 1 office, like the major countries, the major emerging economies like China, India. And the role of the Australian Trade Commission is to favour, to assist exports, to attract FDIs, foreign direct investments, now to also promote tertiary education, tertiary vocational and all sorts of education. And very recently we have incorporated tourism, so also to promote tourism. My particular role is much more focused on trade, with a few secondments now and then in the investment division. As before Austrade, I was employed by Invest Australia, and that's more particularly like in the food, consumer and agri-business.
Yes.
And more particularly whenever it's possible, because we still are small teams and we have to be pluridisciplinary in areas like MENA, Middle East, North Africa, South Asia, more particularly India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, and very often from other parts of the world. Yeah.
Well, it's a really broad role. You're also looking after investment, FDI, but you're also looking after
investment
internationalization and export, and you're also looking at varied products and also looking at several areas, isn't it?
Investment mainly, because I'm in the trade division.
Yes.
The investment is an investment division, different one, but it happened that including last year I worked on a secondment basis with the investment division due of my background in investment, as I also worked with the French government before then in the investment division of the French government.
Excellent. That's definitely a diverse role, isn't it?
It is.
Never to get bored about anything, isn't it?
Not really.
Wonderful. Okay, well, let's move on, taking a step further and asking you whether with all of these portfolios, with the enhancing trade, internationalization, bringing in FDI, do you specialize, does your knowledge specialize and focus in a particular geographical area?
Look, we used to have some geographic area of competences, but because 2/3 of the staff of the Australian Trade Commission is overseas, so we rely on our colleagues, which are either expat trade commissioners or locally engaged, like business development managers or country managers. So we rely on them to get the information about their market, what's happening in their market, etc., etc.
So you basically closely work with the people who are stationed in those geographical areas.
On a daily basis.
Yeah, it's a great interaction to understand what are the changes in political, legal, economic situations that are
at the macro level, but also at a micro level. We assist Australian companies to develop their exports or to set up like an international sales agent network in some markets. So the work starts here with the advisory of the Australian clients, and then obviously at one stage they need to move to that market to meet with their key customers, to meet with their potential agents for their sales agent network, with their partners if they're setting up a joint venture, and then obviously the work is transferred to the market, to our colleagues who are there. Now, what we also do, in addition of gathering information, processing information, analyzing information at the macro level, we also try to identify and seize business opportunities for the Australian companies. Business opportunities from these markets.
So it's also on a one-to-one level, right? Sam, we know that you come from France, and we would like to know how is working in Australia different from working in France? Because a large number of our students today, they're managers of the 21st century. They will be working in Europe because Australia has very traditional long-term trade relations with Europe. Could you tell us a bit about working or conducting business in Europe?
Look, I start with just a cautious note. I'm originally from France, but lived 80% of my life outside France. I think I must have lived in 14 or 15 different countries before coming here. I'm still connected to France for family reasons, and unless things have changed, when you are new in Australia, and let's say coming directly from France, to start with cliche, you are surprised by the use of the first name. We don't use first name in France, as in most European countries. Just we don't use. And I remember having worked for long years with people and still address them with vous, or the formal way, and using Mr. or Mrs. something. That's on one hand, but it may seem like a paradox because we are sort of distant when it comes to formalities.
Yes.
But what you miss, on the other hand, is the repetitive handshakes.
Oh,
we handshake
right.
at least every day, once a day,
Right.
and normally with close colleagues.
Right.
Even if we are giving vote to them,
Yeah.
we kiss on the cheeks
All right.
with ladies,
Yes.
but not with, and we handshake with men.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is like
So
just for the
you are
cliche.
showing the warmth, but just in
Yeah.
a different way.
But it remained
With
like
the
a quite,
closeness.
yeah.
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 It's interesting to know and
Yeah.
to keep in mind for our students, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. To not
Yeah.
call people by their first names.
And it took me some time, but that's, I had already a working experience in
Right.
other countries
Yeah.
like the UK or
Yeah.
Germany or Netherlands.
Yes.
It still takes me times before shaking hands
Absolutely.
with a lady.
Yeah. Well, different cultures.
It's either like you just say hello, or
Yes.
after a certain time, like you start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, could you tell me, with the economic situation, with the economic crisis currently in Europe, what do you see the future as? Do you see a lot of hope for businesses conducting business in Europe? Should they look for new opportunities in Europe? Would they be possible in a couple of years for the economy to settle down? What is your view on this?
Look, this was one of the major topics for my second radio program, the
Right.
Friday Business Breakfast, which I
Okay.
had running until June before I put more time
Right.
to the PhD. And we had a number of experts, financial expert, economic
Right.
expert,
Yes.
academic practitioners, executives. And you hardly find two people like having the same prediction,
Yeah.
except that the euro as a
Yes.
currency is in danger.
Yes.
There is a likelihood maybe in a few years to have two different currencies, one for schematically for the northern European countries and one for the southern European countries. Is it an opportunity for Australian companies? I think so. The dollar is still
Yes.
quite strong in spite of the what it has lost like recently. Is still a strong currency.
Yes.
And the Australian companies, and I'm referring much more to the SMEs,
Yes.
have matured to a certain level in their internationalization that it is time for them to think it in more strategic ways and not limit to export, being represented by an agent
Yes.
or having a partner, but more strategically means having a presence, having a presence in the country, having a presence in the country from where they could develop their operation in neighboring countries.
Excellent.
The first destination for Australian companies has always been and still is the UK
Okay, yes.
when they
Very
decide to open an
traditional
agency or
Absolutely.
a representation office
Yes.
or warehouse or
Yes.
R&D center.
That's right.
Obviously, a number of countries,
Yeah.
including France, including Germany, including the Netherlands, they're saying like, what about us?
Yeah.
It is easier to
There's
develop
lots
your
of-
operation in the UK without being in the UK,
That's right.
which is more difficult
Yeah.
from the UK to some markets, especially the large markets.
Yes.
And having a presence in continental Europe conveys an advantage
That's
to these companies.
Absolutely.
Now, the business culture is quite different. Obviously, even though I must admit, Australian SMEs should not rely on the fact that England is very close by heritage, by
Yes.
names, by the language,
Yes.
by the culture in general, because most of them are surprised to find in the UK it's
Yes.
much more the business culture is much more conservative,
Yes.
and
Yes.
the business relation are much more formal.
Yes.
Uh,
And very hierarchical.
so
Yeah.
very, and it's very structured. So some Australian companies they thought, oh, they don't need any advice, they don't need anyone to tell them
It's the same
the
culture.
tips. In the same country is almost the same country. When they are there,
Yeah.
they found that no, it's not
It's
actually.
different, yeah.
Business-wise, it's quite different.
Yeah.
Now, coming back to continental Europe, obviously it's even more different
Yeah.
because in countries like France or Italy or Spain, you have a good command of English,
Right.
but mainly for the younger generations.
Yes.
And in Spain, for example, it's even worse. I mean, the command of English is extremely limited,
Yes.
extremely limited in the business. So, and the country is completely different.
Yeah.
And obviously, there are at least 4 or 5 Spains, and not only one. So there are intra-regional differences at the culture and business culture. So what we normally suggest, even like whether formally at my work or before, is to do some homework.
Yes.
And to show that they're doing efforts to get closer to the other party, which is completely.
Very true indeed. Very true.
Yeah.
You know how you mentioned that whenever people want to do business in Europe, they go to the UK.
Yeah.
That is so very true, because you know, one of my Australian students here, his family had a sportswear business and a beach clothing, you know, and they had decided to internationalize in 2012, and the first destination that they selected was the UK, and they went along with a joint venture with a distributor. You'll be surprised to know that what you said was a very, very similar experience that they had. When they started working there, and they set up their very small office after 6 months, they found that the manager that they had appointed would not let any of the clients meet them. He would probably ask every visitor to go to the reception, then the secretary, then come to him, the office manager, and then go to the actual owners. And my student was horrified. He said, "Why would they not just come directly to me? You know, this is the Australian way."
Yeah.
But he said, "No, this is the way we do it here in London, and it is a hierarchical system, and you have to follow that."
And the distance is greater than.
Definitely, yeah.
Almost a cliche, even though it's a real life experience. I was working in the strategic marketing department, one of my first role after uni, with Philips in Holland, in the Netherlands, Eindhoven. And we were working on a major project with British Telecom.
Right.
So they are British, obviously. And my counterpart, we probably have the same strategic marketing role.
Yes.
Same age group, same. And I remember when we had to go to our first meeting with key clients, where jointly we are proposing something from a program, a service, the product from Philips and the service from British Telecom. So we are proposing this jointly. And the first meeting, it was just like very, very. How could I say it diplomatically?
A lot of conflict.
Almost, conflictual. Because I would bring a tie for him, and he will bring a tie for me. And he would say, "Well, British Telecom wouldn't go to a place with someone wearing like tie like this." And I say, "Look, this tie is just out of context." And after a few friendly fights, we decided that everyone keeps his tie, and we focus on. So what's my point in this? We talked about the cultures. We talked about probably business culture, but what we need to be aware of, especially European companies, where the companies are older. It's the corporation culture. The company culture.
Absolutely.
The company culture is sometimes like stronger than the regional or the national or the business culture. So when our clients are dealing with major corporations in Europe, but this is valid like everyone, even in Japan, Korea, they need to do their homework and investigate what is accepted, what is not accepted, the do's and don'ts, and try to understand how to position themselves within that context of a strong, very strong corporation culture.
And I'm sure that the culture of the environment will have an impact on the organizational culture as well. So it's very vital for them to understand both the business culture, the culture in the national culture, as well as the organizational culture. So it's quite complicated, isn't it?
And your students are certainly aware about the two groups of business culture, the high context and the low context, the formality and the less formality. Now, it's not black and white all the time. So even within region, you have some region like the north of Italy would be low context, would be more structured, more planified, more. The rest of Italy would be more a high context culture with a handshake as an agreement still, especially with SMEs. Don't expect like 50 pages contract. Losing the face is very important in the rest of the country, like in Spain, in the south of France, while if you go to northern European countries, most of them are low context, no really small talks, everything is prepared and planified. You don't just call to say I'm in the city, let's have a chat, or no, you have to planify like 4 to 6 weeks in advance, come up with an agenda, the purpose and the scope of the meeting.
So within Europe, we have a low context and a high context. So this is great to hear, Sam, that the northern
and even
Europe,
within the same country sometimes.
Yes, same country as well. So these are the subcultures within Europe which people should understand, and they have to tweak their behavior as they move across Europe, isn't it? It's very interesting to know. Yes, the students definitely learn a lot about high context and low context, and negotiation and decision making in low context and high context culture. And they also study a lot about subcultures within countries. And you've made it very, very clear to them as to how they need to tweak their business models.
Things probably have changed a little bit, but what is not mentioned for some reason, probably just an omission in my biography. I had the role of, I worked for the European Union Commission, and my last role and posting was in Romania for 2 years and a half as project director. Romania before obviously joining the European Union. And I had a team of 82 or 83 consultant, expert and advisors from 11 nationalities. And the first few months it was very acrobatic to get them to work together, because some of them everything needs to be written in writing, and we're talking about the German, the Dutch, even the British. And all the Southern European, it's much more verbal, and we can adjust, we can just invent, we can improvise, we can, and then even like physically, back then, I'm talking about 15 years ago, the working schedules and timing is different. You have like, and for having worked in most of these countries myself, I had to be really to juggle between the different, because just for the sake of the example, a Dutch person from Netherlands, his or her working days will end at 4:30, 5 o'clock normally. But that's where the Spanish is coming back from the siesta, from a longer siesta. So having meeting was very, very in the beginning, and then obviously we adjust, we adapt, and we find a common grounds, and but it takes time.
It does. Very well informed for the students with regards to the high context and the low context cultures. Sam, we are coming to an end, but I wouldn't want to let you go out without talking about your marketing communication expertise. You've done so much in marketing communication, and recently we've got so many new tools, technology tools for communication. We've got the Facebook, we've got LinkedIn, we've got varied ways in which people can internationalize their business through blogs. What do you think about these technical tools? Are they assisting businesses to internationalize?
Look, for most of the industries or niche industries, especially, mind you, if it is high tech or new technologies or ICT or biotechnology, it is very important, because that's where the people are getting their information from. That's where how they are building their networks, professional networks, strengthening their relationship with customers and clients, because they are on the same wave. It's at a lesser extent in other industries like agri-business, or it's at a lesser extent. But the trend is this is how people are communicating.
And it helps with networking, isn't
and
it?
it's growing very fast.
That's
It's help with networking, with disseminating information. I would advise like clients, SMEs, even students to be quite selective, because it's also time consuming, and also because we could be misled very easily. If it is posted, we think it's truth. Sometimes it's not. And it's amazing how fast it went, because it's in my lifetime, and not I was working in Korea and expecting a document, price list from Italy, and it was not coming, and I was about to meet probably with the largest food Korean company, and we didn't have that document. So I called, and the lady was saying, because I didn't send it, that fax, because it's raining very heavily. I have to stop for the rain to wait. I said, doesn't matter. We even accepted wait. Just send that fax. So the fax, if you talk to students, mainly probably under the age of 25 or under the age of 20, they wouldn't have a clue what's a fax. So of course communication is changing, is the tools, the systems, and we have to use the most efficient communication tools and
we need to embrace technology, but with caution.
And
also we need to be aware that not every country has the same technology, and it takes time for technology to transfer, so they have to be aware of it.
And not every region, we should not be obsessed by these new, we should not ignore them, because they are there, and they are there more and more and more, but we should not be obsessed and say, if you don't have a Twitter account, or if you don't have a LinkedIn, how can I do? No, if it is not vital for your business, because at the end of the day, these are tools to achieve ends, and it's not.
Okay, Sam, we'll come to a conclusion now, and I would like to ask you one last question to close up, and it's about what advice would you give our students? What and how do they need to operate if they have to lead a multicultural team amicably, successfully, where people are able to share their views and able to work in a very conducive environment? What advice would you give our students? What should
we're talking about a heterogeneous group of people. A team with different profiles, Look, it requires a little bit of effort in the beginning, but I assume that students who have enrolled in international business, international marketing, and international diploma have a sort of predisposition to be open, to have listening skills, to have empathy, to be on the side of the others, and to understand, to compromise, and to just work on commonalities. Because take two individuals, let's say, from anywhere, they still have some commonalities, and they build on these commonalities. And if I use my own experience, that's how we started with these 82, and some of them like senior expert with 30 years of experience, because that's the profile we are looking for. And they say, I'm out of here. It's not from these where you say, oh my God, I'm going to, from 80, I'm going to find myself with maybe 10 at the most. Everybody is leaving, everybody is so you work on, you do the effort, you come across, you get closer to one, and then closer to others, lots of diplomacy. And at the end of the day, what is counting is that everybody is happy, and we're achieving results. There are outcomes. So it may sound a little bit difficult, but at the end of the day, it's not that difficult, because...
So very well said, Sam. I totally agree with you. Empathy and respect for commonality that you mentioned, that is so very
Objectivity, have your mind open at the maximum, at 360 degrees. Don't be sided because one is closer, or you may have sympathy for one more than the other, but at the end of the day, it's a working group.
It's a working group.
And it's there to deliver.
That's right.
So
your advice is very, very valuable, specifically for many of our students who basically are working in IT groups, and they are working across continents. So Thank you so much, Sam, for coming
Yeah,
today.
it's pleasure.
And it has
It's
been
pleasure.
extremely valuable
And
for us.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anytime.